I said I was a dog groomer and had always taken care of wild animals. I was the dog groomer that everybody knew. And people would find a litter of baby bunnies, and there was no such thing as a wildlife rehabilitator around here, and people would bring them to us, and I would raise them. I have since learned that I may not have used the best techniques, and maybe they did not survive, because I did not know what I was doing. But at that time, I was living in an apartment in Origsburg. I could not get licensed. In 1990, I actually bought the property you're in right now with the goal of becoming a wildlife rehabilitator and got licensed in 91. For 17 years, I supported it with my grooming, which meant I didn't have the money when my furnace broke down because I needed to buy milk for the animals instead. I became animal poor. And I was fine. Somebody always took care of me. Like, there was always somebody up there that made sure I had what I needed when I needed it. So I didn't fall apart. My house did. It needs a lot of repair. We're actually starting to fix it up now. And then I met this guy. This is a guy from Philadelphia. He is a financial advisor. He was an insurance guy. He had no idea how to tell an owl and a hawk apart. First time he came to my house, and I have a reason. I'm not going to fill up this whole thing with stories, but I have a reason for telling you this. The very first time he came here. And I asked him, can I take a picture with you with one of my animals? And he's thinking, oh, I had a litter of puppies at the time. I used to raise standard poodles. He's like, oh, cute puppies, cool. Maybe she'll let me hold one of her really cool owls, right? 45-pound Burmese python I threw around his neck. And I had a reason. If it didn't scare him away, he might be worth my time, me investing in the future in him. I am a firm believer that if you show somebody the very worst of something and they can handle it, they can handle everything else. The reason I'm telling you this is I love my job. I love being a wildlife rehabilitator. In the next hour, you're going to think I hate it because I'm going to show you the really horrible side of wildlife rehabilitation. And you're going to think I hate it because you're going to think all I'm doing is complaining, and I'm not. I'm showing you the worst. If you can handle that, you'll be the next licensed wildlife rehabilitator. First of all, let's look at what wildlife rehabilitation is. It's a network of individuals and organizations. It is not a single person. It is people working together, caring for injured, sick, orphaned wild animals with the goal of releasing them back into their natural habitat. And the part of this that you really need to understand is releasing these animals back into nature. There is a huge difference between animal rescue, SPCAs, humane societies, and wildlife rehab. Here are some of the differences. First of all, in animal rescue, you can get away with going, I'm a miserable person. I hate people. I love animals. How many people have you heard that work with animals go, I can't stand people. I'm an animal person. I am not a people person. In rescue, you can get away with that.
Losing the sick kitten.
The litter was born maybe about, a month ago.
Linnea takes a call from a man looking to surrender a litter of kittens.
What have you done with the mother cat?
What do you mean?
Well, have you spayed her because she's going to give you another litter any day?
No.
So let me see if I get this straight.
His timing could not be worse.
I am not known for my telephone presence.
Even her answering machine sounds mad.
Hours are 8 to 11.
We do not return calls.
If you wish to speak to me, you must call back. I have anger management issues. You just intend to enjoy the kittens and then abandon them when they are no longer cute and fuzzy. And it really comes out when I talk to some of these jerks. That is sick. When I hear about people that mistreat their animals, I'd like to neuter them.
Well,
You think that's okay? So their genes cannot be passed on. They're killed. And it's because of people like you. If there's an issue with animals, I'm going to jump in the middle of it. You don't want them to know what kind of a man you are?
well, I don't think that's very...
I don't think what you do is very either. It's just the way I am. Call Monday. I'll set you up with a free spay or neuter. I have got to go. You have no idea what I wanted to really say to this anal orifice. No, it's not a rare call, and that's what angers me.
You can go, yeah, I understand why those SPCA workers hate people and they're so miserable. Because look at what they have to deal with all the time. In wildlife rehabilitation, you cannot get away with that. Because wildlife rehabilitation is not an animal service. Wildlife rehabilitation is a people service. Someone finds an animal, they care enough to get it the proper care. You are not serving that animal, you are serving that person. By taking that animal in and taking good care of it and releasing it back into the wild, you are carrying through with the promise that you made to that person. Understanding that concept will help you immensely in many ways. First of all, there are no grants out there for saving wild animals unless you are going to try to save habitat or do studies on a species. There are no grants out there for you to raise a litter of baby bunnies. But there are grants out there for you to set up a phone system to help people. If you write a grant saying, I want $3,000 to buy milk to raise a herd of baby fawn, you're not going to get it. If you say, I want $3,000 for milk to keep the fawns out of the hands of the public so that people do not get injured by imprinted or humanized fawns that have been in newspaper lately kicking the crap out of their neighbors because somebody went and hand raised it, you just might get it. If you focus on the people, you will get money. You will also get the official ologist on your side. If you say, I am taking care of wild animals to keep them out of the hands of the public so the public is not exposed to diseases and parasites and injury, not, I'm taking these animals in because I love animals. Oh! That's not going to get you nowhere. And that's going to get you some enemies. Concentrate on the people. In animal rescue, cruelty is often criminal. People know that it's not right to shoot your dog. People know it's not right to hang the neighbor's cat or to not feed a parrot for 5 days. They know that that's illegal. People don't realize that feeding mother's milk out of your boobie is cruel to a baby bunny. They don't know. In wildlife rehabilitation, the cruelty you see is often caused by ignorance. People don't know and they try to think and they're stupid. I'm not kidding. I had a woman bring me a baby raccoon one time who breastfed it.
Oh my God.
Nurturing is a part of rehabilitation. How many people have ever volunteered at a shelter to walk the dogs and train the dogs? And how many homes are there to take a dog in so it can learn to be a good pet and people foster them and you love them so that it can get adopted to a family and have a good chance of staying there? Nurturing is a part of humane works when it comes to domestic animals. In wildlife rehabilitation, if you do that, you will destroy that animal because you are not raising them to love you or feel secure. You are raising them to be the wild animals that they were born to be, and that means hands off. And if you want to noach, work at the SPCA. In the Humane Society, in the SPCA, you can hold an animal and you can search for that perfect forever home. Hopefully it's a forever home. You never know. There's always risk. But in wildlife rehabilitation, the best you can do is research the habitat and make sure that animal knows what it's doing because you are setting it free. And it is going out into a very cruel world, and it is going out into an unknown future, and there is not a damn thing you can do about it. You have to let go. If you can't let go of an animal and just set it free and go, here you go, you're on your own, and walk away and sleep that night, it's something you have to think about. You can't let it eat you up. Special needs animals get special cares. How many times have you seen the wheelchair dog? The dog that's got the wheels on both sides because it's paralyzed. It's a wonderful thing, and I think it's great. But there are no wheelchair ramps in the wild. Special needs animals do not get set free. And what is our goal of wildlife rehabilitation? To set them free. In rescue, euthanasia is not a good thing. It is a last resort. In wildlife rehabilitation, it happens every day. Every single day. No-kill shelters are the goal. In rehab, that's illegal. That is hoarding. It will get you shut down. All those animals will be taken away from you. There is no such thing. They call it warehousing animals. For the most part, if it can't be set free, it's euthanized. And that's something you have to know, and you have to be able to live with it. We have to research ourselves, and that is the big deal breaker, is euthanasia. It is the big difference between rescuing animals and rehabilitating animals. Death and dying is something that you live with absolutely every single day. We have days where I'll walk in, and I'll talk about him a couple times. My assistant's name is Greg. He is the rehab assistant in that list of positions. He is our rehab assistant. I'll walk in and he'll go, today's the day of death. Everything that's coming in the door is getting put down. But that day, an owl came in with a wing flipped upside down, and it can't be put back on. A blue heron came in, and the bone in its leg is sticking out this far, and it's all dried up. It just happens. You can end up with animals coming in that just cannot be saved. I said we took in almost 1,400 animals in the last 12 months. 175, or 13% of those, either died when they came in the door or shortly after before they got treated. That's an awful lot of death. That's a lot of death for you to have to deal with. 385 were euthanized. That's almost 1/3 of the animals. So for every 3 animals you bring in, or every 4 animals, 1 or 2 get put down. That's a lot of times you're making a decision about euthanizing an animal. There are some programs for the non-releasable animals, which they're few and far between. One is education. We do have a few animals that we keep for education. This is Hannibal, our turkey vulture. He's always a big hit. We have about 8 birds that we use for education. That's it. We can also keep fosters. If you have an animal that cannot be released and it can successfully foster babies, and it can tolerate living in captivity, and it's comfortable, under regulations you can retain it as a foster, and it helps keep baby animals from growing up imprinted or tame. We have a selection of those, about 20 of them, that we keep. We have a blue jay who's retarded. We have a cardinal who can't fly. I told you I'm crude. We have a couple great horned owls. We have a pair of screech owls. What else? We have mama deer. We have a deer that raises the fawns, and she is phenomenal. The fawn grow up wilder than they've ever with us. We have a mourning dove, and she will actually feed the babies, which is great. The blue jay we kept, even though he didn't know he was a blue jay, and he's just really retarded, except any baby bird who opens up his mouth, he goes and stuffs food in it. So we kept him.
Wait, and it's a male?
It's a male. We have 18 animals here at Red Creek right now. Out of that 1,400 that came in, we have 18 right now that are still in rehab, have not yet been released, but that is the goal. Out of 1,400, we retained 5. That is a tiny, tiny number. They're including that blue jay I just told you about. We released almost 800. That's pretty cool. So you want to ask yourself, can I handle the concept of euthanasia and death? Can I handle it? Can you deal with the after emotions? And you will have them. If you get to know me a little bit, but you haven't gotten to know me really, really, really well, but you just start working with me, I've had people tell me that I am heartless because I have buried my emotions that badly that they don't show anymore. And I am almost 100% clinical. I will look at an animal, Greg will bring it to me, what do you think? I'll be like, put it down, walk away, next thing. At night, he's the one who sees me cry. Nobody else gets to see it. Can you deal with the after emotions? Because if you don't have an outlet for it, or you don't understand it in a way to allow yourself to grieve, you'll get sick because it'll eat you up inside. And these are things you need to ask yourself. Now, the next two questions are specifically for a licensed wildlife rehabilitator or their assistant. And the assistant positions, nobody finds. I'll explain that in a minute. But the next one is for licensed people, but even the volunteers have to deal with the first two questions. But you have to understand, even if you're just going to volunteer once a week for a wildlife rehabilitation center, you have to understand that animals will be put down, and it's always done in the best interest of the animal. For the rehabilitator, not only can I handle the concept of euthanasia, but can I facilitate that animal's death? Can I kill it in a humane way? You can learn the humane ways. You can learn how to give a shot to an animal. You can learn how to turn on the gas. You can learn how to build a CO2 tank, a CO2 chamber, and the proper ways of euthanasia. You can even learn the humane way to break an animal's neck. But when you're looking that animal in the eyes, can you do it? You need to ask yourself that. You will be working with a veterinarian. You have to become a wildlife rehabilitator. If you are not capable of facilitating that animal's death, the next question is, are you going to take every animal that needs to be put down to a vet? That vet's not going to work with you very long. You have to learn to do it yourself. Can you? Here's the things that you will witness. This is behind the scenes of a wildlife rehabilitation center. You will see some really cool stuff. You will get to see some animals that you have never gotten to see. You will get to see things, and you will get to hold things, and you will get to share your space with things that other people never even get to witness. That is awesome. You will see things that are awfully cute and cuddly. And honestly, if you want to be a budding photographer, there's your chance. You are also going to see extreme suffering, and I mean extreme suffering. You are going to see animals that are torn apart. You're going to see animals in a great deal of pain, and you are going to see a lot of blood and guts and gore. Just like the EMT that works in the war zone in Afghanistan after a bomb has gone up and blown arms off of people, questions you need to ask yourself is, am I going to fall apart? Because if you fall apart every time you see something suffering, you are not going to be able to do it any good at all. Can I remain clinical rather than emotional? There are two different things. It's one of my faults. I am too clinical. I have gotten to the point where my emotions don't show up at all. Can you look at this animal and can you decide its fate? Euthanasia is one thing. Making a decision about that animal is another. It's two separate things. Both of them are hard. You are going to see great suffering brought on by other people. This is a fawn. It is about 4 weeks old. It came in with rope burns around its neck because some jerk had him tied up somewhere. He was found running down the street with the rope around his neck, found by someone, brought in. That fawn died. We never found out who did this to this person, to this deer. We never found out the culprit. There was an investigation. The thing is, you can turn things into the Game Commission. That makes you feel really good. But honestly, rarely does it ever come up with anything because people do this stuff anonymously and you just never find out. Unless some guy gets drunk and goes to a bar and brags. This one was released. The cool part about that is the finder found this bird, heard the snap, saw the bird. It was down a neighbor's woodchuck hole or something like that. He was smart enough to actually get it open enough to get that, see that stick? See that stick right here? He got the stick jammed in there so it didn't choke him. That bird got released. But you will see things that people do to animals, and you are going to get really, really pissed off. Especially people who let their cats run outside. I am a firm believer that there should never be a cat outdoors. They do not belong in the environment. You may just decide to do tiny little baby animals. You do baby bunnies. 1/10 of the animals that you get in of the baby bunnies are going to be ripped up by cats. It's what you're going to see, and it's what you're going to have to deal with. Sometimes the person who just brought that animal in, it was their cat that did it, and they let the cat out. And you've got this person standing in front of you. Then you have the ones who tried to raise it themselves, and when it started to fail, then they call you, after the breast milk thing didn't work, or the cow's milk, or the whatever milk. Baby squirrel in the middle is the same age as this one. He is half the size, and he is shrunken because the people fed him Similac. Similac kills animals. It's terrible. That person is standing in front of you. Can you save my baby squirrel? At that point, that squirrel's going to die. There's that much organ damage. The most humane thing you can do for that animal is put it down because it is going to suffer a horrible death. And I don't care how knowledgeable you are, it's almost impossible to save an animal like that. This is a baby bunny that the people fed dog milk to, but didn't stimulate it to go to the bathroom. Nesting animals, nesting mammals need to be stimulated. The mother comes in and licks their genitals, and they go to the bathroom. The mother drinks it. That way the nest stays clean. The baby animals do not eliminate in the nest. They need to be stimulated when they're fed. But you can take a little tissue and tickle them. We call it molesting squirrels. But this baby bunny came in and its bladder exploded. Now, that person standing in front of me, can you save my baby bunny? Questions to ask yourself. Can you keep your temper? Really? Can you teach this person standing in front of you, because that's what they need. They don't need a scolding. They don't need to leave your place feeling like shit. They need to be educated. Can you do that? Can you remain diplomatically doing it? Because if you can't, and that person leaves feeling judged, that person leaves feeling scolded, the next time they find a baby bunny, they ain't bringing it to you. Your goal isn't to save that animal that's there in front of you because it can't be saved. Your goal is then to save the next one that they find. And that is to make them understand that it is better for the animal to come to you right away. So you need to be diplomatic, you need to be an educator, and you can't lose it. Can you do that? Diet is so important when animals grow so quickly. This is a crow. His bones are twisted. His muscles are atrophied because he was fed hot dogs and oatmeal. He did not get protein. He did not get calcium. He did not get all the things he needed to grow. In a case like this, you have to make a judgment call, and you are allowed to make it. If you feel that you are making it for the best of the animal, and not because your heart goes out to it and you want to save it and you want to be a hero, you can try to save these animals. This case, as bad as he looks, we gave him a thorough exam and we went, maybe. And I have this wonderful vet. When I said, how do you know if you're going to make a mistake in trying to save something or not? He goes, if it's that borderline, and he said, if you're going to make a mistake, always err on the side of life. So we wrapped him up. His name is now Boyd, and he is our education bird. But he is an absolutely beautiful, gorgeous bird today because we took a chance. But he is an education bird, and we take him to schools and teach kids about wildlife. You also need to bow to authorities. I don't care what kind of permits you get, you never own the animals you have. They belong to the government. They belong to the Game Commission and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And occasionally they will tell you, you're not allowed to take this, you're not allowed to take that, or you have to turn over this. And every once in a while they will pass a regulation and they will say, you can't take this. And you can't. Or you lose your permit. And they'll take every animal in your place and probably put it to sleep. You do not have any power. The newest thing is scary. Chronic wasting disease is a horrible disease that spreads among deer, decimates the population. It's kind of like mad cow disease. Once it gets in the wild, it's almost impossible to contain. We have been watching Pennsylvania for years. Just this year, a couple months ago, it was found a deer died at a deer farm. This is not a wild deer. This is a deer farm. One died, but that deer was a stud that had visited a couple other deer farms, and guess what? It has been found now in Columbia County and York County. We're not allowed to take any fawn from those counties now. I understand that. I'm scared. I'm scared for a couple reasons. This is a no-win situation because it's very easily they could say no more fawn rehab because we can't allow a fawn from Berks County to come up to Schuylkill County and I release it in my woods. I could have actually just transferred the disease. Right now they're saying none from York and Columbia, but I know what's going to happen in the spring. Somebody's going to pick up a fawn in York County and they're going to call Robert Grabowski in Center County. And she's going to say, I'm sorry, you have to call the Game Commission. I can't take a fawn because it's from York County and that's a disease zone. Next thing you know, I'm getting a phone call. Where's it from? Oh, Berks. All right, bring it up. Now I got a deer from York County. If they shut down fawn rehab, I understand why. But what then is what's going to happen is the fawns are going to go underground and the public's going to have them. So it's a no-win situation. The thing is, we're not the ones who make the rules. I am on a council that can make suggestions, but we don't make the rules. And we have to live with the fact that they are going to tell us what to do. Once again, questions to ask yourself. Can you follow those rules? Or are you going to hide an animal? The problem with that is, all it took was a WCO coming in, finding an animal that's not being allowed to be rehabilitated. They will shut you down, take your animals, and your animals will either be farmed out or they'll be put down. And you'll be fined. Not good. My rule of thumb is, professionalism is only possible inside the law. So if they make decisions, help try to change their minds and change the regulations, but don't break the laws. Can you do that? And this is one of the things where you have to make up your mind about what kind of animals you're going to take. In Pennsylvania, there are 6 species that are high risk for rabies. These are it. You have raccoons, skunks, coyotes, fox, woodchucks, and bats. If you do these animals, there's a point where they can come in and go, you have a baby raccoon, it came from such and such a county. We know that before the people got it that brought it to you, a family with 3 kids were handling it. It needs to be put down. It needs to be tested for rabies for their safety. 3 cheerleaders were passing it around at school before one of them took it home and brought it to you. And they didn't tell me that. All of a sudden, this baby animal that maybe you gave fluids to and you've had 2-3 days and now it was dying and now it's starting to thrive and you know it's healthy or it appears to be. Now you have a WCO showing up at your door going, I need to take that animal. It needs to get tested for rabies. You've got an investment in it. What are you going to do? Are you going to turn it over? You know what my answer is? I euthanize it. I get it tested. At least then I know it's put down humanely. And I do it. If there's a case where I know about it, where there's a risk of exposure, I had gotten a hold of a raccoon that was being passed around by a whole group of cheerleaders. That's where that comment came from. And a woman had taken it and tried to get it underground. She started calling rehabilitators and I got wind of it. Another one called me. We are a very close-knit group. One of them called and said, there's a woman calling around trying to get someone to take in a raccoon. She's from this area. It needs to be tested, yada, yada, yada. Next thing you know, I'm getting a call from the woman. So I'm on the phone with her. Oh my God, did you tell anybody you have it? You better get it here right away. Don't tell anybody you have it. I got it. I got it tested because it had bitten one of the cheerleaders. Can you do that? It will break your heart. I had a guy pick up a mother fox hit on the road, dead. A puppy off to the side. Guy picks it up, brings it to me. The healthiest baby fox you've ever seen in your life. There wasn't even a single parasite on that animal. It didn't have a flea. It was obviously a healthy animal interrupted by an accident. Its mother was there, dead on the road. And I asked him, did you get bitten or scratched? No. Did you get any saliva inside your body? You do not need to get bitten or scratched for rabies. If you get saliva in a cut or in contact with mucous membranes, you can expose yourself to the rabies virus and not know it? No, I don't think so. I get the fox. I'm feeding it. It is so healthy. It is a sin. I get a call back. Well, you know, when I picked him up, he kind of drooled on me a little bit, and then I didn't wash my hands, and I took some chaw and I put it in my mouth, and I wanted to put him down. I had to euthanize the fox. It was a human life at stake. I wanted to kill him. Can you do that? These are things you need to think of, and they don't have to be deal breakers, but they have to be part of the decisions that you make. If you do decide to go into wildlife rehab, they have to be part of the decisions that you make in what animals you'll take. If you can't do that, do not do rabies vector species, because that's the animal it happens with. Nobody ever shows up at my door going, that bird poked somebody in the eye, it needs to be tested. That don't happen. And that is your choice. You don't want to do them? You don't have to. See, that's the cool part. You don't have to take anything. You do have that power. You have the power to choose what you will do.